Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from wherever you are watching. It is 3:12 in the afternoon Eastern Time, United States, and I'm so happy you're here. What we are talking about today is open source requirements for repositories. Now, this is going to vary widely from open source repo to open source repo to project to project to product to product. And so this is a very broad requirements being very broad, very gentle. This is a guide. This is one of the ways that we do it here at Cockroach. And it's not even the way we do it in all of our projects within Cockroach because 100% we have several maintainers doing a lot of different stuff. So this is very specific to Cockroach Labs, but it's also very specific to DevRel. A colleague of mine reached out and he was like, we need to talk about what we require on our repositories that we're uploading for our sample apps. So this is what I came up with. Would love to hear your thoughts, what you require for your projects. And this is something that I should not only do in a live stream, but also write down into a contributing doc. So I will do that eventually. Yes, that is something I need to do. I am Rain Leander. I'm a developer advocate with Cockroach Labs, and this is the open source stream. I don't have any of my stuff set up on StreamYard, but we are streaming from StreamYard. And let me just pull over a couple of things, set up this so I can share my screen instead of showing you my calendar. One thing that I am not going to go into, and we can talk about this at another time. If you're interested in this, let me know how to actually get your code online. I personally use GitHub, but there are so many options out there. GitLab, there's literally, you could publish your code to a website, but then you wouldn't have version control around it. There are many, many things that websites like GitHub, GitLab offer. I'm sure there are other options out there besides those two, but GitHub is my versioning control of choice. And for sharing large projects and maintaining contributions, I am going to pull up So first of all, we have two, let me share my screen. Share screen, entire screen. Is that screen one? Screen one. Okay. So we have, there we go. We have two organizations on GitHub. We have CockroachDB, which is the normal one that a lot of people see when they contribute to Docs or Cockroach, the biggest project that we have. Some would argue the only project. But we also have Cockroach Labs. And it used to be that Cockroach Labs was only private projects and CockroachDB was the public projects. But as you can see, we've got a lot of popular repositories on here. One of the things that I love about working at Cockroach Labs is the interview process is open sourced. And so if you are interested in working here and you want to see what the interview process is like, you can go to a literal repository. Oh my gosh, does it not? Okay, it does have the license. I was like, this is not open source. And it goes into a lot of detail about what the interview process is like. But it's not just this. And the cloud report, that's awesome. Cloud Report 2022 coming up soon, anybody? I worked on the developer success. There it is. So this is the one that I maintain, and it's over here on CockroachLabs. So we've got a lot of public. And speaking of which, I need to update this README. So one of the things that I wanted to do, just a second. What did I just do? I did a Python blog post of a sample app. Let me see if I can find it. Quick, click, bunny. There we go. So, also magical layout. So this is the blog post. The GitHub repo is right here. And this is the one I wanted to use as the example. You want it bigger and bigoting? Better, smaller. 150% of your free. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below, left, right, depending on what you're watching this on. So first of all, get your code online. But second of all, there's a optional, and that is this file called the .gitignore. Now, .gitignore, very valuable if this is a piece of software or an independent application that you're putting online. This, for example, includes, well, it should say, yeah, Python specific things. And also I want to say application specific, because we specifically, yeah, there we go. The environment variables, we consciously made sure was not included. Maybe it was this as well. But yeah, the .gitignore and Cockroach or GitHub has a way to create this file based on the programming language you would, and it would by default fill this in for you, which is really nice. But if you're uploading documentation or something else, this .gitignore is not always necessary, and that's up to you. Now, always 100% necessary is the license. So if, excuse me, if this is your first time here, I have a thing about open source licenses. And that thing is that the myth is that if you just put your code online, that it is automatically open source. The default license associated with code or pieces of art or anything else, when it is created, it is by default copyright as opposed to copyleft. And copyright means you can't share it, you can't reuse it, you can't recycle. It's only the author's ownership. And so when you first put your code online, you must, if you want to open source it, you must include an open source license. Now, GitHub has an also an automatic feature of GitHub is that if you choose to create a license, I'll do this on mine, not speaking, just my repo, because this is a demo. If I'm creating a new license or a new repository, new repo, I can add the README. I can add the gitignore based on the programming language, and I can add the license. Now I tend to go with Apache 2.0. If you want to hear or read more about these other licenses, I strongly recommend, what is it called? What open source license should I use? Is what I always put in. Chooselicense.com. So if you go to choosealicense.com and you answer a couple of questions like, I need to work in the community, I want it super permissive, I care about sharing improvements, it goes into detail about the licenses. Yeah, I just can't recommend choosealicense.com enough, even though I can't remember that domain. But yeah. Also, if you're joining me today for the first time, I don't normally cough and drink water as much as I am today. Thank you. Acceptance. I'm always looking good. I'm just kidding. Thank you. So, it makes it super easy to thank you. I should be better. I even was like worried about COVID and went and got tested, but it's not COVID. It's just a cold. So those licenses are automatically added. The GitHub, like I love that it's easier to create that repository. So always add a README. We didn't even get to that. Create a repo. Now, since this is just a sample repo, I'm not adding a .getIgnore. This is another use case for not using a .getIgnore. Oh, and if you're not a programmer and don't know what that is, the .getIgnore file is a file that tells the compiler or the IDE or the, I guess, developer in some of it, or the platform, the infrastructure, the cloud platform, it's a file that basically says, okay, ignore these files, include those, as opposed to include all of the files by default within the repo. And some infrastructure platforms, some like Heroku and Netlify, etc., require that. Exactly. GitHub will create different GitHub or getIgnore files kind of on the default based on the language you're using, like for Node.js. Exactly. And this is something that I personally getIgnore did not use that much because I was working on a project that was so massive that like each individual repository was not its own independent application requiring that getIgnore, but it was a small piece of a larger whole. So I will admit that I just started using this file. Now your README. Going back over to the Python Heroku. What I do for the repositories that I put up for, oh, and look at this. I haven't even updated this. So good thing that happened live. Okay, this link should be right here. Oop. So the first sentence is just basically a description of the application. Then the corresponding block is available via blog post. And then it goes into a little detail about the application itself. And then the final paragraph should be how to actually run the app in a very simple, concise manner. It may be that that's not possible, that it takes more steps, or that the blog post includes those steps, in which case you would say to run the app, first step, and then the rest of the steps are available via, and then you can link more precisely within the blog post. Let me just commit those changes without even creating a fork. Ta-da! But that's what we require on our sample app READMEs. Very simple. if you had a repository that was independent, let's say it's your own project, you might also want to include how to contribute, links to your code of conduct. Yeah, it could have this README can get very complicated very fast. It can, but I personally prefer something that's simple, but then links out to these other information like the COC. So then, what else is required? I wanted to show you by default, your repository comes with an about section, a releases section, stop it, and a packages section. Within our sample app, we get rid of the releases and packages. You may decide that you want to include them, that they're relevant, but for the sample apps, they tend to not have, like, we're not rebuilding this sample app. It's not iterating very quickly and has a complicated many forks. I prefer a anchor text. Yeah, if your README does get longer, put in anchor links. I've seen both, though. Yeah, that's a great question. If your README is long, would you then go into separate files? It depends, which I know it tends to be our default answer for this question. It depends on the project. I've seen both, and I've seen both work, and I obviously forgot to turn on my do not disturb. So it could work either way, just as long as you're consistently using one or the other, and that you document whichever one you prefer within. Got a lot of phlegm action. Is there a point where you should use the wiki over just README files? So the wiki is a fairly new, this is the wiki, and it's something that, oh, nope, just did that on accident. I would have created it in here. It's something that is not there by default, but is very easy to implement. That's also a great question. Is there a point where you switch from the README to a wiki? So I have yet to see a project that I'm involved with actually use the wiki in a graceful way. So I'm still a little like it's not a path I would go on. One of the rules that we used to use with web design was that if you had to press the page down more than twice, that it should be a new page. And that's a fairly safe, like not within 100%, 150%, but let me find an obnoxious page that has entirely too much content. There we go. So we press the page down twice, and then everything after this really should go in its own page. Can you tell I haven't been on here in a while? That said, there are no hard fast rules. That might be a preference that you do. But yeah, the 2 pages down. I find that I tend to use the search anyway, rather than actually using page down anymore. I mean, who actually uses page down anymore? You're using your mouse and you're going back and forth on the mouse pad. I don't actually use page down anymore, but that's a great question. Thank you, Adrian. Now that I've accidentally created a wiki within this, it will always be there. Oh, no, it won't, because I didn't edit it. Yes. Exactly. The page down, by the way, on a Mac keyboard is these two, but you'd have to have a separate keyboard. All right, so README. So if I were new repo creating this, the releases and packages are there by default. And the way you can get rid of them is to click on the settings. Now, every repo should have a short description. And the description and the website and the topics are purely SEO. Like this is where Google and any other SEO bot is coming. This is where they scrape. This is where they focus in. So this is what's going to make the difference between a GitHub repo that is easily findable and completely obscure. Make sure your description is SEO friendly and has those keywords that about your package or project. That's why it's very simple, just one sentence. And then these topics, as you type, they will give you advice on what to choose. So if this is also where you delete the included releases packages, you could get rid of environments, but I find that a lot of people glance at the environment to see if it's relevant to them. So I tend to leave that there. The website by default, by the way, is this GitHub pages default. But you can change the website to the blog post, for example, or anything you want. Save changes, and my releases and packages have gone away. Are there any questions there? The contributors is an automatic section based on, stop it, based on who's actually contributed to the code. In this case, that's me. And the Dependabot is a application. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Adrian. Yep. Nope. I was just going. And the Dependabot is a bot that automatically comes and checks out dependencies within all repositories. I don't know if that's CockroachDB only. It can't be, because I also have it on Rain Leander. So it does security alerts and stuff like that. And then languages is also automatic based on the files that you've uploaded. In this case, this particular Python, I would call it, project has almost 50% HTML, and then a proc file. The proc file is specific to Heroku, I'm pretty sure. Yes, that's a Heroku thing. So the languages is going to be there by default, and you'll notice that since I have absolutely no files in here, I haven't done any pull requests or anything else. I feel like I should leave this comment up now forever. Anyway, it hasn't filled out my contributors or languages. Even though I initialized, I have not put a single file on here because GitHub is the one that put the license and the README. Pardon. That's it? That's what we require on ours? Am I forgetting something? I'm pretty sure I'm not. Part of the reason why this link was blank when we first got here this morning is because I put up the code before the blog post is published, and sometimes the blog post ends up with a different link than what I've put in the code. So I've started just putting link, and then obviously I need to write a note to myself to then go fix that. Something else I do want to point out that is not required on CockroachDB or CockroachLabs, it's not something we do, is that I strongly, 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 strongly recommend putting in issue blank templates. And let me think if I've run across this lately. You can also do this for pull requests. And I'm completely, there should be a way I can create templates for these, and I'm completely blanking on how to do it. Awesome. Yeah. But that's it. Do you have any questions, comments, snarky remarks? Take my comment down. I don't want to take your comment down. Maybe I'm going to leave it forever. Did you think about that? Yeah, and that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Let me look around. That should be it. The README, the license, the description, the tags, the README, license, the name. The name of your repo is similar to the description / tags in that it's a good idea to make it incredibly relevant and descriptive to your project. I am choking on my phlegm. I should probably take a bow. Yeah. I think that's it. I'm going to write up a post about this. And put it on one of the myriad of repositories that I maintain. Too many repositories. Too many projects. This bothers me. I swear I've put template on pull requests and issues, but I can't find it. Well, when you can't figure something out. All right. So I don't remember how to do this. So GitHub template issue. Is it? And Postgres template. Oh, nice. It's an entire repository. Yes. This is what I love, is that you can either do a bug report or a feature request, for example, open a blank issue. Yes. Configuring issue templates for your repository. Creating issue templates. Settings. Yes. Okay. Settings. I didn't really read that enough. Settings in the features section under issues, set up templates, close that. In the features section. Oh, there we go. Issues, issue templates. There we go. I love this. It's so easy. Yes. Okay. I love that GitHub has made this automatic. Back in my day, you had to write this by hand. And propose changes. Oh, no, I don't want to propose changes too. I want to just commit them. Thank you. All right, cool. And issue template is done. I wonder if it has it for pull requests as well. Pull request. We do not need a sponsorship. We do not need a wiki. Stop it. We don't need to use projects. I probably should not allow merge requests. Fine. Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. All right. I realize I started late and I'm about to end, but that's where we are today with this mild to not so mild cold. It's not COVID, but yeah, let me know if you have any other questions about open source, maintenance, pull requests, issues, what should be documented, everything, what shouldn't be documented, nothing, stuff like that. And for next week, the rest of the week, I feel like Adrian, my colleague, is doing a casual coding Tuesday tomorrow and Tuesday. And we are appearing at 3 conferences this week. We've got Developer Week EU, which I am speaking at. We've got PyCon this weekend, which I'm super excited to attend. It's my first PyCon in person. I'm kind of excited. Go Salt Lake City. And then AWS Summit London, I think, which I'm obviously not at because I'm here in Michigan. But yeah, wait. This is why layouts are important. Let's dance it out. And I will see you next time. Great week, y'all.